come back and see you.
Morning guys, we'll start with the broadcast section and no embargo, followed by an embargo section. So together tonight, no live tweeting or blogging during the broadcast section. Please use the microphone provided. Paul.
Thank you. Hi Ange.
Hey mate.
Ange, you give a very honest assessment of what you felt Timo Werner played last night. And sort of waking up this morning, any regrets about the public nature of the criticism, or do you stand by that?
No, it wasn't criticism. It was assessment. I mean, if we played poorly, we played poorly. If an individual's kind of hasn't, and like I said with Timo, it wasn't about whether we played well or not. But we had a real difficult game last night. I'm asking 18-year-olds to do some massive jobs, and you want senior players, and he's a senior player. He's an international. He's won a Champions League. That there's a level of application and performance you need to sort of rise to, or to help the team, and he didn't reach that. I mean, I think me taking him off at half time was a statement enough, but the same way I won't hide behind team poor performance. It's the same with no different for players or anyone else. It wasn't criticism. It was just an assessment of his performance, and on a really challenging night for us, which we knew going into it, it needs to be better.
What way do you think, or what way has he responded to that? Is he the type of character that goes, I'm going to prove...
Look, I've got no time for that sort of stuff anymore. We're in a fight here, like collectively we're in a fight. I'm not going to go around worrying about people's bruised egos. Yeah, this football club, we want to achieve things. We want to be successful, and we're down to the bare bones in players. I'm not going to, if there's somebody in that dressing room who's fit, able to contribute, that feels like he needs something extra in this moment, he's probably not the right type. Like, I need guys who, and we had some last night, who, understand the situation we're in. We've got 15 fit players. In some positions, we've only got 2 players. So I'm not going to go around trying to get extra out of people. If they don't give extra right now, well, it kind of gives me an indication of where they're at.
Does that tie into the wider issue in the past with Spurs about what it needs to kind of get over the line with a trophy?
I'm sick of that,
yeah.
and that's an excuse for me.
Yeah.
And that's why, even with sort of Christian Romero's comments, I just think that's an excuse. Like, at the moment, I'm here. I take responsibility. These players, we're here. So if we think something's, exists, some mythical thing exists in this club that prevents success, we'll change it. Well, what's the point otherwise? Don't come here. So I just don't buy into that. At the moment, like I said, we're in a difficult situation because of kind of where we are squad-wise and team-wise, and you either embrace this challenge. If you want excuses, there's a million of them. Absolutely, there's a million excuses as to why we can't be successful. But if that's what your clutch is, particularly in tough moments, then what's the point? Just move on then, go somewhere else.
Thanks, Ange.
Thanks, mate.
Southampton manager Russell Martin, he showed you a lot of respect in his presser. Says he relates to your belief and style of play, and he feels criticised in a similar way because he's committed to that. We've seen flashes of what Southampton can do at home against Liverpool. What kind of challenge do you expect against them in the weekend?
Yeah, good challenge. Not just at home, in all the games. They've played some, pretty exciting and effective football against very good teams, and I think Russell will probably just be frustrated they haven't been able to sustain it or get rewards for it. And in football, the good stuff you do gets diminished because people just invariably look at the outcome, which is a result, which is fair enough. But I think some of the football they've played has been good as anyone this year, and home and away. Their ability to play out from the back, their ability to sort of play through pressure. They've obviously made some mistakes in trying to do that, endeavouring to do that, but for the amount of times they've actually done that really well, they probably haven't got the rewards that good play deserved, you know. So again, it kind of skews people's outlook. So no, I think it's going to be a good challenge for us. Like I said, they're a good footballing side. There's some opportunity for us there because we're a good pressing team. So it's going to be a good game.
And the 18-year-old, so Gray's played every position in the back line as a midfielder. Bergvall's been doing his job when he comes on the pitch. Do you think in this current injury crisis, it's really probably valuable for their development to step in a difficult time, or do you think it's a lot of pressure?
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, you don't want it by design, but I think it will bear fruit for us for sure. In kind of, if we were sort of had a smoother season, they probably wouldn't have played as much, fair to say. But the fact they are playing and I really like the way they're going about it for us in a difficult period. Like I said, Archie's been asked to do things as an 18-year-old in unfamiliar positions away in Europe, in the Premier League, and the way he's handling it is outstanding. You think to yourself, well, if he can sort of get through this period and keep growing, what's he going to be like in 3 or 4 years' time? The next manager will love him. And Lucas, likewise, he's really growing into it. We can see he's starting to really feel comfortable at this level. He's showing, again, a real maturity for an 18-year-old. And I think that's hugely positive for us. Like I see, by design, you don't want to just throw young players into it, but I think we'll get enormous benefit from it for sure.
And you said in your assessment that we weren't anywhere near our best yesterday. But in this crisis, what things on the pitch do you think the players just need to be doing more? Is it the simple things, the finer details?
Oh, look, I think it's a combination of things. Like I said, we can't dismiss the situation we're in at the moment where, we're very limited in terms of what we can do from a team perspective. There's a lot of players who are playing a lot of games and they're giving all, but they're obviously going to lack a little bit of sharpness because we can't give them a rest. So within that context, it's just about making sure that there's some basics in our game that we continue to push through. Like I said, you look at the Chelsea game, and with the elements of that were brilliant for us, and the way we played our football. So the ability to play at that level is still there. It's just that last night, like I said, and we've got to keep it in context. It's a difficult venue. It's always difficult for any team going there in Europe, historically, to get a result that you need to fight. Now, I just felt there were times where we weren't as committed to sort of winning second balls and doing a lot of the stuff you need to do when you go to a place like Ibrox. We lost those battles, which allowed them to sort of get into the game. But the flip side of that is that when you're 1-0 down there, it's awfully hard to turn it around because the volume in the stadium goes up by 100 decibels. It's hard to claw it back, and I thought we showed real character. I mean, Dom and Decky and Lucas, Papa, I think they all helped when they came on for sure in helping us achieve that. But the fact that we were able to come back, and as I said after the game, in the context of Europe, really good point for us. It sets us up really well with the last 2 games. Next game's not for a while, so we'll be in, with a bit of luck, we'll be in a much better position squad-wise to tackle them. And we know if we win those 2 games, we'll finish in the top 8. And, that's, I think we'll probably look back on that sort of point last night as valuable to that.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks.
I just wanted to ask, when you signed Timo Werner last January, it sort of felt like a player who'd struggled at Leipzig, struggled at Chelsea, and Spurs almost were taking a chance on him and giving him a platform to rebuild his career. I was wondering, in the context of what's happened recently, is it ability, is it confidence, or is it mentality which maybe stopped falling short?
I don't think, it can't be ability. Like I said, you don't play for Germany, you don't play for big clubs. And, whether it's a combination of confidence or belief, at this moment, we don't have the luxury of that. Like, you're out there, you're playing, you're fit. We don't have the luxury, not just him, any player at this moment, because he's got an opportunity to play, And it's not like, a bad performance, or, if your performance, I'm going to leave you out next game, put something. I've got no one else to put in. So we need now all that stuff to be put aside, whether you have lack of confidence or lack of belief or whatever it is, to say, well, are you in this fight? Because we're in a fight, because we've got a limited number of players to call on, we've got some big games coming up, we can set up our season. I just need people to have that level of commitment and application and find their way through. So, as much as, I'm talking about Timo, I'm talking about the whole group, talking about all of us right now, that, the norms of football of, poor performance, you get left out, they don't exist in our environment right now. So I need players going out there and putting all that to one side and saying, you know what, I'm just going to fight and put in a shift because we have to right now, and whatever issues there may be, we can discuss down the line.
Is it fair to say until now that you've sort of held him back a little bit, because I feel like you've been picking sort of tired attackers ahead of him instead of Timo, because you just look at your selection record and he's been on the bench for most of the recent games. Yeah,
he has been, but at the same time, he still had the ability to come on and affect games, and he has. He did that against City. He did that, in other games this year where he's come on. But in Europe, midweek games, well, he's there to start and make an impact. So, like I said, I get that a lot of discussions around him, but for me, it's not about. Last night wasn't about Timo Werner. It's about the situation we're in and what's required in this time. And it could have been somebody else, not Timo, last night. And there are other players who I think could also have given more to what we were trying to do last night. But I just felt with him that, particularly because he hasn't played a lot and there should have been some freshness around him, that he could have made a real impact, because I know he's a top player. So, like I said, I'd expect he looks around and sees an 18-year-old and he sees guys who've been playing a lot of football and say, you know what, tonight I'm going to make the impact myself because he's a top player, and that's what I expect.
And lastly from me, just looking at the centre-backs, you've had sort of Ben Davies filling in to a lesser extent, and now Gray is. Do you think at the start of the season you had enough cover in that area, and is that an issue to address maybe in the future? Look,
I can have 6 centre-backs, but you name me one club that loses 3 centre-backs and has got enough depth. It doesn't. It's impossible. I know people say, well, you should have signed. How many centre-backs can I have? And the reality of it is, if all of them are fit, well, 3 of them aren't going to play. You've just got them on your roster. So every club goes into it with 3, maybe 4 centre-backs, which we did this year. Now, unfortunately for us, 3 of those 4 are injured. So I think like I said, I've seen clubs lose 1 centre-back, people calling it an injury crisis. But it is, because your centre-back pairings are really important. Like, you look at the top teams, they're constants. And the teams that don't have those constants really struggle, even if they're missing one of them. I'm talking the top teams. We're missing 3. So, of course, it's going to affect us. Of course, it's going to affect our ability to play the way we want to. Can you compensate for that? Well, no, because you can't have 6 top centre-backs in a Premier League squad of 25. It's just impossible to do.
Hi, Ange, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, bud.
Good. Your very first answer, you said what you said last night about Timo Werner wasn't criticism, it was feedback, assessment. What's the difference between criticism and feedback and assessment, and where is that line, in your opinion?
I think criticism is, saying something that is not really helpful. It's just, almost used as an excuse. That's not. I think assessment is trying to give people feedback to make them better and give them the opportunity to improve and give them feedback to the whole group about what the situation we're in and what's required.
In general, and again, going back to what you said about bruised ego, you're not interested in bruised egos within dressing rooms. Players generally like to be told what they're good at. If they scored a hat-trick, they like to have smoke blown up them and what have you. They don't like to be told what they're not good at. Do you find in your dressing room they're going to respond to the latter?
It's not about a response. Like I said, I'm not interested. Like, we're in a fight here. We're in a battle. Like, when people are in a fight and a battle, do you think they'd go around and say, oh, how are you feeling today? You feel up for this? You've got no choice, mate. You've got to be up for it. So, and like I said, I get that, everything's about Timo, but Timo is not where our season is at. It's not about Timo. It's about who we are and the situation we're in right now. So it could be, if it's not Timo, it could be somebody else on Sunday. If somebody else doesn't perform to the levels in the current situation we're in, then we're going to suffer for it because we've only got a certain amount of players. So that's it. It's not about kind of bringing somebody down or blaming someone. That's where, this is not about one person. This is what we're in, the situation we're in right now, where we've got a limited amount of players, really stretched, but we've got big games. We can set up our season. It's a great challenge. I want people who are up for that challenge. And when they go out there, irrespective of if things go well or not, that, they're relishing the opportunity to be out there. This is not a time for us to kind of be worried about people's mindset. If you don't understand or feel what we're in at the moment, then I'm not sure what it's going to take.
Well, taking your analogy finally about the battle, you're the general, and you're going into a game on Sunday, and in the last few weeks or months, a game after a European match hasn't gone so well. Palace, Ipswich, Fulham to a certain extent. Leading the team into battle then on Sunday, are you confident that you can turn that around? Your lieutenants will go out there and turn that around for you.
A lot of analogies in there, but but that's the reality of it. You're right. That there is no alternative. There's no alternative path here. There's no other solution other than to go out there and perform at a level we know we can, which we have. Even in recent times when results haven't been great, we still have reached levels of performance which we know if we get to, we're difficult to stop, and that's what's before us.
Can I just get the latest on the injury front going into this weekend's game? And do you have a bit more information now on Van der Ven, Romero?
No, mate. We probably won't get clarity. Obviously, when guys get injured, without getting too technical, you need to let the injury settle down before you get a real prognosis. So that'll probably be next week sometime with Mickey and Christian. Everyone got through last night, so they're all good to go. And I think Biss is suspended this weekend, so he'll miss out. But everyone else is sort of as it currently stands.
Ben Davies, he was injured a week ago.
Yeah, Ben, that was a week ago. So it's not as bad as we thought. So there is a chance he'll be back. Hopefully before the new year, so that was positive. Again, initially we were a bit worried about it, but again, you need to give him a week just to settle down. And the latest information I got this morning was that it's nowhere near as bad as we might have thought it was, and hopefully a quicker turnaround for him.
In terms of the lack of centre backs, would you consider recalling Ashley Phillips in January?
Oh, mate. We'll look at all the January contingencies. That's all happening in the background. It's not going to help us for the next sort of 5 games. That's where my focus is right now. Johan's, we've had their chats, and he knows kind of. And a lot of that will be the state of play of where we're at. Come the new year.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, mate.
Tom, please.
Hi, Andrew. Been a lot of talk, obviously, about your style of play that you've been implementing here. You spoke at the fans forum about the team needing to play a style of football that's true to Spurs' values as a club. I remember you saying during the World Cup about how Belgium maybe didn't have or don't have a ingrained national style of play to fall back on to help them through difficult moments in tournaments. But so why is it so important to you that your team stay true to the values of the club in that sense?
Well, I just feel, that's the kind of clearest path to success, because you kind of, what you endeavour to do is link into what fits, with what the club sort of sees itself from an identity point of view. So, if you see yourself as a club that every club wants to be successful, that's a given. Like, there isn't a club that's, their motto is, we don't care if we win. In Latin, it doesn't exist. So every club, but it's how you get to that point. And for some clubs, it's not important, like the manner in which. Other clubs, I think it is. I think this is one of those clubs. They've certainly tried the alternative path and come away sort of feeling it wasn't a fit for purpose. So that's why I think it's important. I think it's an easier path to traverse, because in difficult moments you still realise, okay, this is still the way we want to go. So there's a clearer alignment when the inevitable sort of bumps in the road happen. So I think that's why it is important. Like I said, for some clubs, other things are more important than sort of style of play or the way you play your football. There are other things, anchors that they sort of hold on. Some of them, really believe in development of young players. Others believe in, just the experience at their home ground. There's always things that you can sort of say are constants. So that's why I think it's important.
And so that kind of attacking style of play that this club is kind of more known for historically, is that something that's just intrinsically more difficult to implement away from home? Thinking about the 4 away Premier League victories in 2024, is that intrinsically more difficult to do away?
No, not necessarily. I don't think so. Look, I get that people kind of think that attacking football means you never defend or you don't care about defending, but it's not. It's just like I said. It's more about your intent when you go into every game, and our intent is to go and try and win every game. Not to kind of treat games in a different manner. Now, is that more difficult than? Well, what's the opposite? The opposite is that you go into a game trying not to lose. Well, that's not guaranteed success either. So the only guaranteed success is when you get it all right. And that's the difficult bit, when you get everything right. And it's the reason that, only one team ends up winning the competition. And sometimes it's fine margins between who wins it and who finishes second or third or fourth. But as I keep saying, you play attacking football, people say, you've got to concentrate more on defence. You play defensive football, they say, you've got to concentrate more on attack. Yeah, fair income, really? Yeah, I know that. Everyone knows that. Every manager knows that. So it's about, what you want to base that on and what's your underlying principles into getting to that space. So we want to be an attacking side, we want to be an aggressive side. It doesn't mean you ignore the defensive side of the game, because that kind of mentality doesn't exist with anybody, I don't think. No one, because ultimately we all want to win.
Okay, we'll end the broadcast section there. Move on to the Belgrade section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. Paul, can you start us off?